Hey guys, welcome back to the Rhythm section, brought to you as always by the Mind Refinery. This episode we're talking about RTJ4, the latest work by Run the Jewels. We're going to look at the beats, the tracks, and the current relevance of Killer Mike and LP's latest political opus. Also, if you like what you hear, rate and subscribe us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to follow us on social media. And now, here's the show. Alright guys, here to discuss the pretty awesome Run the Jewels 4 are Mind Refinery creatives Andrew Lanza.
Hey.
And Andrew Van Eek.
Hello.
Okay, guys, before you start, I want you to look at all those slave masters posing on your dollars. Very important.
Look at them.
We're going right into this. What is our initial thoughts of this album, guys?
Well, first of all, honestly, when that the Ooh La La track dropped as a single, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was kind of not feeling it a huge amount, and I was like, this hook is a little silly. I don't know how much I love it. The bars and stuff were good, but then when the album came out, 180 on that track. Now I love that track. The hook is stuck in my head. But yeah, for initial impressions, bangers on bangers for days. Love the album.
Initial thoughts for me, I think that I'm excited. Excitement. Everything that they say on this, and I just don't understand how a duo can make that many hours of music back to back to back to back and have it be so good, referring to the whole catalog. So consistent. And then this one, it's for me, it's kind of creeping. It might be my favorite one yet, just because of the time and the relevance. I was just reading a whole bunch of stuff they were talking about. They wrote most of this stuff before it happened, including that I Can't Breathe rhyme. So, I mean, yeah, it just couldn't be more timely, and it's what I needed to hear.
Yeah, it was really, really good. It's as Lanza said, bangers on bangers on bangers. I think on this album they're able to rough out some of the edges on the last one and like the previous ones, just in terms, it's not that they weren't put together well. They're all incredibly fantastic records. I think this one is probably the more complete album from beginning to end, in terms of hitting all the notes that you want in an album, the effervescent opener, you get on a good run, and it goes from Holy Calamafuck, Goonies versus E.T., Walking in the Snow, and it is just big track after big track, deep track.
Those are huge. Everything you just said, I just going through my head. They're just massive tracks.
Deep bass, and then it has what I think has been lacking. I think my beef on hip hop records in general, in terms of their rock counterparts, is that they don't classic rock records really wrap things up in a bow with the ending track. I feel like this one, it really does that.
Oh yeah,
with a little ditty, the Yankee and the Brave ditty at the end.
Oh, that's so
good. I want to see a fucking Yankee and the Brave show starring Killer Mike and LP, a 70s homage, Dukes and Hazzard, minus the racism, and fucking just go off.
It would be okay. So when you say my initial thoughts, is the first thing they're referencing the Buick Grand National throughout it, which happens to be one of my favorite cars of all time. It's like the Darth Vader of cars, basically, to describe this thing in a look.
What is it? What is it called? The Buick?
It's a Buick Grand National, and that's part Yankee and the Brave have this stolen Grand National, and they're touring around, and I don't know if it's stolen actually. Yankee and the Brave
I think it is.
Yeah, anyway, it's in that, and so right away the album just took a huge personal turn for me, just because it's
Googled this car.
When somebody says in your favorite lyrics or movies, when they make a reference to something that is kind of actually personal to you, it always just kicks it up a notch. And then so it's weird how an album that's so political and intense can also have this fun side and this storyline through it, and somehow nothing detracts from the intensity of the other. No part of this album takes anything away from what it's really about, which I just think that's mastery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think their ability to craft like these political ideas and relevant political ideas around these like such rich soundscapes. I mean, LP's producing on this is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's this is a through line like all the way back to his solo work that has been mounting and being perfected and just getting better and better and better. And I think that if anything, like I mean, we'll get into like how we feel about this in terms of the in terms of the Run the Jewels canon, but I feel that this is probably their most put together record, and it's probably which is, I mean, they're all put together pretty well. It's just, I feel the great groups and the great bands and the great artists, they're able to, even on top of really excellent work, they're able to even improve from it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I would definitely say it's like their most cohesive album. With them, I feel like maybe except for like the first two albums, like every album builds upon the last one, and like every album I feel like is like a step to becoming more like Run the Jewels ish, if you will. Like,
Yeah.
like they just refine it and refine it and refine it, and then finally, like we got it distilled, like the mind. Oh, sorry, the the mind refine. We got the Run the Jewels like distilled into this like tight fucking package where like there's no like droning on. There's no really dip in the album. There's no lull. It's just like fucking attack, attack, attack. There's no retreat on this album.
Yeah, Mike kind of said something about that, or sorry, LP said something about that with he wanted this one to be just pure fire, whereas the last one had some water through it or something the reference was, but fire, this one was just pure fire, and they certainly managed to create that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all their albums kind of have a track or two that like I wouldn't skip, but I'm not as hyped on as the rest of the album. I can't really find that on this new one, to be honest with you.
No.
So let's talk about standout tracks. What are we thinking?
I gotta give it to Just, man. Like I've heard that song so many fucking times since it dropped with Pharrell and Zach De La Rocha. Like that's first of all, having those two on a track, I feel like only Run the Jewels could do that. But that bass line, like when I listen to that bass line, like I'm sure my neighbors upstairs really appreciate me listening to that song that loud. But like that bass line like rumbles your brain. Like I fucking love it. Like that like bass, that fucking 808. Oh my god. Yeah, how about you guys? What do you other than I gotta assume everybody digs that track, but what else are you guys digging on the album?
I'm really, really into it's. Again, it's all of them, but I'm still working my way through it. But Walking in the Snow is the rhymes are just hit the whole thing in the bass, and it just hits so hard. And then the features there with Gangsta Boo from 3 6 Mafia, classic favorite blast from
Again,
the past
it's
there.
I'm sorry, it's Oscar award winning 3 6 Mafia. Continue.
Oh, Oscar award winning 3 6 Mafia. Very, very, very.
Please, you need to just go on.
Yeah, would you fucking say not doctor in front of your doctor's fucking name? Like, this is bullshit.
I always forget about that because I actually haven't seen it. It's Hustle and Flow, right? I haven't actually seen it.
Hustle and Flow is sick. Honestly,
I have not seen that movie.
Flick.
It's good.
And I was into them 3 6 Mafia way before that happened, and then I seriously I don't even know what album or that soundtrack is like. Like I know the stuff from prior to that, so
it's good. Like it's like that style hip hop, right? Like they like made it for the character kind of thing. But yeah, Kyle, you've seen Hustle and Flow, yeah?
I love Hustle and Flow. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. I mean, I'm pro 3 6 Mafia. I mean, I like to throw back to the fucking Dirty South as often as humanly possible. I mean, that's one thing that was really good about this is that. So I like started going on this like Killer Mike deep dive because I actually heard Killer Mike before because Killer Mike's on records, like he's on like Outkast records, like Killer Mike's on fucking Stankonia, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
so like
Atlanta staple for sure.
Yeah, so which is really cool because like you see, because I was going through and I'm like checking out all the Killer Mike features on other people's records. I mean, because like obviously you see like 2 Chainz show up on this, so he's always throwing, he's always throwing to the south, and I like how this record combines like elements of drill, elements of trap, It's definitely fucking straight up, Atlanta style, which is interesting because LP's from Brooklyn, but his style meshes into this electronic meets the South. I think that the best ones that really, I mean, the reason I like Ooh La La, is because it's got the DJ Premier, like it's got almost that like harkening back to like New York State of Mind, like the piano, and I really, really kind of enjoyed that. In fact, Ooh La La for me is like, I'm like, that is kind of the best like synthesis of like New York and the South, and I mean, just
And
as
it has that like
incredible.
kind of like it has that like underground hip hop vibe to it too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
find
100%. It's like straight out of like '95 fucking New York, and I mean the track that really kind of stays with me in this. I mean, they're all fucking good, but like A Few Words for the Firing Squad, the closer,
dude,
it's just
massive.
because
The
you're
throwing,
like
I don't
Killer
know, like
Mike,
what do
Killer
you?
Mike is top form on that track. Honestly,
Oh,
Killer
man.
Mike kills that track.
It's that song, and it's like, so you're listening to these electronic hype bangers, and then it's a little bit slow. The pin, is it Pull the Pin
pulling the
before it?
pin, yeah, with Josh Homme.
And then you get into that song, and it's weird because I'll be like hyped from the album, and then I'm hyped to listen to the slow song, and it's still somehow energizing. You know
But
what
it's
I
like
mean?
nice
Like
and like
normally,
strip it. Yeah, it's nice and stripped down, but it's still a killer.
yeah, and it's through the words. I think like the biggest takeaway from this for me, but I love the beat so much, but you are just hard pressed. It is really hard to say that much and say things about this kind of stuff without sounding preachy, without I guess pontificating or ever like it's just somehow you just connect with what they're feeling, both of them, throughout the entire thing and on every track, almost line by line, really. And that's again.
I'd be super hesitant to say that their lyrics are not personal. They are obviously very personal, but I feel like this track is a lot more personal. I mean, looking like retreading the idea of, the mortality of family members, of themselves, what they're doing with their life, where they are in their life. And I love, and just even some of the musical references, like that synth part is almost like straight out of like In Excess, with never tear us apart, like that shimmering synth part. It's really fucking good. It is quiet, not it is quietly intense because it builds, and and it keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and then the drums start splashing in, and it's like absolutely incredible, and it's very,
there's like a sax at the end there too that just
yeah,
like brings it all together. That's just
and I really like that they, they're going there. I would almost like to even see more stuff like that from them, because I mean, obviously the stuff is overtly political, which obviously has a very personal root to it, but I even more about, what their lives are, from an emotional standpoint, beyond just, the political. I fucking really, really enjoyed it. I felt Pulling the Pin, the Josh Homme, and with the Mavis Staples fucking features on it, was really, really good. Like Josh Homme not coming out and going crazy, just adding these really nice textures. And I think like with songs like Pulling the Pin and A Few Words for the Firing Squad, and maybe even just overall their style, their lyrical style in general. I mean, like I feel like hip hop and punk have survived into adulthood for me more than any other types of music, and I feel like, because I feel like that there's like a kinship between those two types of music, from an anti-establishment standpoint, and like that is very much relevant on this. It's very much there. They double down on all this stuff that they've been doing on their previous records, and I think that if they're improving on records as good as the ones before, I would love to see what the fucking next one is going to be, because I feel like this partnership is not, like, this is going to continue, and this is one of the most enduring partnerships that we've had, in hip hop. So, especially ones that weren't started together too, like they kind of worked together. They
were like staples of like their own scenes, like whether it be like Atlanta or New York, and like like you were saying, they kind of like came up on their own, doing their own thing in completely different ways, and then they just kind of mashed together, and then now they're like fucking the tag team.
And it's going so well that it's stuck around, and that it's just part of their musical expression. And the big thing is that their solo careers have kind of gone to the wayside for it. Because
I ask you.
continue.
Oh, sorry. Go.
No, continue.
Go ahead. Go.
No, I'm almost done. Continue. You don't need to hear me rag on about what I'm saying.
I ask you guys this about, since it is 4, and we're all agreeing that it's 4 albums. What other hip hop artists?
Well, what about Meow the Jewels? What about Meow the Jewels?
Yo, Meow the Jewels.
Come on,
Can't
this
be-
is
can't
the
be
fifth,
forget
this is the
about
fifth
Meow.
one. Yeah.
This is the 5th.
I'm actually super upset I never looked to see what Pitchfork reviewed Meow the Jewels for, because like, are they too?
Did they review it?
I think there's a
don't
review.
know.
I think they'll fucking. Guarantee there's a fucking Pitchfork review for it. And these guys
Oh
were
my God,
probably
they
like,
gave it an 8.
oh no, they probably gave it no, because like they're humorless, so I assume that they didn't. Anyways, continue, Vinny.
I'm going to ask
4
you.
albums.
So 4 albums,
Yeah.
plus Meow the Jewels and all sorts of side projects and previous solo. But 4 albums. What other hip hop group or hip hop artist has 4 cover to cover banger albums? Like, you start getting now
Kanye.
into
Jay-Z.
Kanye does,
Yeah,
Jay-Z does.
Yeah.
Does Nas? Not cover to cover. He has obviously one of the best cover
Well, that
to cover
depends-
albums of all time.
I'm gonna say fucking Kendrick.
I can
Yeah.
go with, I can get behind Kendrick,
Yeah.
but there are lulls in those albums that, I mean, they're pure art and pure beautiful.
Fair,
but they're
fair.
they go this. I can listen to any of these albums, especially this new one in 3 for
Like
me.
any song.
Like anytime, any song, I'm down. If it comes on, I'm in the mood for it immediately.
fair, like full, like back to back. But I mean,
Back to back.
even like 1, 2, and 3 have like a couple tracks each that
Yeah.
are like a little bit. I mean, a little bit of a dip, in my opinion.
But
But
that's when you're saying like a couple tracks, and I'm saying the funny thing is that this like almost kind of underground super group that formed later in the hip hop world, were you expecting to be talking about, like, Wu-Tang doesn't have, I mean, I would argue that Wu-Tang has 4 banger albums, but most critics and most fans might not. Like, so it's just crazy to think that, yeah.
I would
Jules
show
is-
you
is-
the I
is
would show
up
you
there
the
on
W
list.
track. I would show you the W track list and then be like, tell me which ones you don't have to skip, because this is, I'm like, I don't know.
Right?
4 bangers.
So anyway, I just think that it just occurred to me when this one came out. It's just like 4 full on critically acclaimed albums, especially being about something not pop, is an accomplishment.
That's
Yeah.
the big thing, and I think it's because the part of it that's driven it is that the songs, just in their nature, are like, especially with 3 and then double down on this one, are relentless. Like, I love 2 because it's a little bit more minimalist and sparse at times, which I do enjoy. But I feel like this one is absolutely relentless, and their ability to like work at that pace, like from a musical standpoint, and then keep plugging away without you feeling overwhelmed by it, and like, I think that there's not too many groups who can, as you said, continue this like political bent for a multiple an entire album worth, and for 4 albums worth, and sustain that level of like attention when they're doing it. I think a lot of that also has to come from like textures as well that they put in their music. The songs don't stay in the same mode the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of hip hop, you see, it's like fucking
there's
the
change
hook,
ups, there's
you-
like
you the-
breakdowns.
and there's, especially using drum breakdowns, he's quite good at it, and that's where you see like these electric elements climb in, where it's like quick splashes of drums, elements of like drum and bass and stuff like that, and dub, and I think drill, as I previously mentioned, like, so like, it's really fucking like, this is I think I will get into it, but I think you could definitely, this is probably, I mean, whether it's your favorite, I don't know, their best record. So yeah, I want to move on to like.
I just want to add one thing. Another thing that I really like that they do. It's not like anything like super unique or anything, but how they really almost kind of like play off each other's like flows. And I feel like they really did that well in this album, like especially. It's like, I don't know, they'll just kind of take take the like whatever the last flow was. The next guy will do that same flow, but then he'll like change it up and like I don't know. It's just they just work so well off of each other that it's like they're writing these songs together. You can tell. You know what I mean? Like it's not like LP's off writing his verse somewhere and like Killer Mike's off writing his verse somewhere. It's like they go back and forth and like this is clearly a collaboration.
Yeah, the whole thing's not done on fucking Dropbox. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So just in just expanding on into the song, just the songs part. I mean, do we have a favorite feature on this album?
There's a lot of them.
I mean, I already said mine, but it's got to be Zach De La Rocha and Just. Anything from that dude, man, I'll take whatever, man.
Yeah, imagine being a band with a political bent that's hardcore enough that Zach De La Rocha makes multiple appearances on your stuff. That's galvanizing. You know what I mean?
But then
it's
also
that's how you know you're politically legit and practicing what you preach behind the scenes.
But then industry legit too. Because fucking Pharrell appears on the exact same track.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like both passes right there. It's like the political pass and the industry pass in the same track.
Wild.
Yeah, I think the Zach De La Rocha. My only thing is this is my favorite Zach De La Rocha appearance on this. Like,
it isn't or is?
It is not. It's fucking incredible, but fucking Close Your Eyes and Count to Fuck is just it just will forever it will just forever hype me up, and I'm pretty sure if I was less glandular and a fucking UFC fighter, that would be my intro music. I feel like, you know, like it fucking makes me want to fucking throw punches. And it's just relentless. Like everything I scribble is like the anarchist cookbook. I fucking love that fucking Killer Mike line. And then fucking Zach De La Rocha comes in and he's riffing on different Miles Davis albums. You could taste my fucking bitches brew. Like I love, like it's really good. But you know this. So
let me ask you: do you like the beat of that song? Because I've played that for people. I played that track specifically for people because like. I love it, and also like Zach De La Rocha's on it, so it's kind of like a good bridge to some people that might not know Run the Jewels but like Rage, and so people found like multiple people I've played that track for have found the beat annoying.
Okay, well they're annoying.
They're annoying. Those people suck. No, you are the one who sucks.
Thank you.
You are the ball lickers.
Thank you.
It is not my favorite. It's not my favorite. I think it's an outstanding song. It's not my favorite beat on the album, but it's definitely not bad.
And
I would say it's.
I'm gonna say, I mean, I really love Pharrell. I mean, I'd probably say like I love Zach De La Rocha on Just, but I love Pharrell. Just like almost that like spoken word part. Like it's fucking really good. But honestly, I'm gonna have to say 2 Chainz is my favorite. I love fucking 2 Chainz.
What's that one line where he's like talking about? He's like, "Let me be frank." The hot dog stand line. I love that line.
Oh yeah, "Let me be frank." Oh yeah.
Talk about another like kind of galvanizing endorsement is 2 Chainz being on Run the Jewels stuff. Like, because 2 Chainz, I don't think, from my knowledge of his earlier stuff, was very just kind of material, as the name implies, and stuff like that. And he's really kind of taken a more of a political edge with his last album, and then being on this, like Run the Jewels. If they're having you out, you must be saying and doing something. Yeah,
the 2019 album, Rapper Go to the League.
Yeah, Rapper Go to the League, right?
That's my favorite fucking 2 Chainz record. It's fucking fantastic. Album. It's fucking fantastic. I think this is more about Southern solidarity. You know what I mean? They all come from the same scene. They've all been on tracks together. You know what I mean? Like they come, and same thing with like Big Boy from Outkast, as well. Andre Benjamin. I think that. It's funny because like it's a continual movement of 2 Chainz being a more mature artist and not even just being, just being commercial. I mean, like, and also his features are generally awesome. Like on fucking Mercy, like that. Like
it's so good.
Like it's so like it's so good. He's always good.
Standout feature on that track.
Yeah, definitely. And so like anytime you're getting 2 Chainz on something, it's it's good. I mean, he's gonna bring it. He's gonna bring that. He's gonna bring that. Also, it's a sense of humor as well, and I think that people kind of maybe underestimate the sense of humor of Run the
2
Jewels.
Chainz?
No,
Oh,
of Run
okay,
the
they're
Ju-
gonna
of
say
Run of
2
Run.
Chainz.
Oh no, 2 Chains is fucking hilarious.
Well, I mean, they have an album called Meow the Jewels, so that's
Yes.
pretty much.
Because of the political like bend to it, but I mean, fucking Killer Mike's talking about fucking chub rub and shit like that. So, I love seeing 2 Chainz on this. So I think that the 2 Chainz is probably my favorite. Although, as I mentioned before, Josh Homie's just very very tasteful textured guitar thrown over it. LP really
That's
does
Queens of the
well.
Stone Age, right?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
I this whole time until right today, I thought it was Josh Home.
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, I don't know how it's actually said.
I think
okay,
I think
okay.
I think it is Homie, but
I honestly, I've always
Homie?
read it as home in my head,
Yeah.
and then
Well.
when you said it, I'm like Josh Home, and I was like, oh, Josh Home, oh, and then I'm like, okay, I'm dumb.
So I want to get into how we feel this album compares to its predecessor, Run the Jewels 3. We talked about it being forward thinking, but like, what are the big improvements?
I think like the cohesiveness as of the album as a whole. We've kind of touched on that a couple times, but that is a really big one for me. Previously, and I guess still right now, because this is pretty fresh and I'm still just listening to it over and over again like the last one, but RTJ4 was my favorite, and then I think this one just might have beat it somehow. I'm not, the jury's still out on that, but yeah.
I'm gonna say I love every album, and I thought, other than, as I said earlier, but I think my slightly, I like 1 slightly better than 2, but 3 I think is far and away better than 1 and 2. And then honestly, on like my first listen of this one, I was just like, yep, this is their best album. Like,
right,
like
it just sounds so complete.
Yeah, like just on the first listen, I remember the day it dropped. I remember just they were like during the fucking crazy upheaval that was going on in the States and around the world, they're just like, fuck it, Run the Jewels 4. And I remember just listening to it that day, like while I was working, and just like it was instantaneous. Like halfway through the album, I'm just like, yeah, this is their best album.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, the completeness of it is the big thing. They really have just really shown, a continuing understanding of how to put together an album, and I think this is the culmination of that. I thought this is the best of both of them at the height of their powers, which is fantastic. We'll get into where it stands in Run the Jewels records next, but like I think I love 2 the most because I've spent time with it. I mean, for me, like whenever you're evaluating these things, it's always like I kind of need like to see how I feel next year about it, to see if it's still with me, to see
For sure.
just to see if it's
that's kind of what I was saying with the this versus
to see how how it stays with you. Does it become a part of your life?
You know what? Cancel that. This is going to be the soundtrack for this summer, which is the weirdest summer of, I'm sure, any of our lives that we've ever been through. And
well, it's so funny. Sorry, go ahead.
No. That's all I gotta say.
I was just gonna say, I thought it's so funny that like my 2 soundtracks of the summer are so different. Like this, and also like Phoebe Bridgers dropped her new record.
I've listened to that since. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and around the same time, it's like it's a hard recommend. Those are both this and that are like, that is probably album of the year, and this is probably number 2 so far. But it's so funny that they were both dropped around the same time. I'm going to say like within a week of each other, and like they couldn't be more different, but they have both equally taken up like as much listening time. It's crazy.
This is in my top. This is probably, I'll have to see how it is at the end, because right now my 3 in no particular order are the new Fiona Apple.
That's number 3 for me.
This one, RTJ4, and then fucking Alfredo by Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist, which is fucking awesome. The opening track on that record, 1985, is just like this throwback guitar riff, and it just blows my mind. So like seeing which one I like more, but like I feel like this one is, especially as my tastes are gearing more towards like electronic music and stuff rather than just like maybe the more classic hip hop style. I think that, you know, with this, they took another sonic leap, just improving on the previous stuff. Like there was no DNA changes. Like, when we talked about Kanye West, we talked about him, like creating a sound and then, destroying it and then building a new sound and,
Mhm.
and fucking, and the ability to do that with these guys. It's like a freight train that just keeps rolling, and they push and they push and they push and they add and they add to they add and they add elements and they add elements. And so I'm wondering like how far they feel this sound is gone, because
Yeah, that's that.
Well, and where is the end in sight for it? Like, I don't understand.
I like how me and Kyle started talking, and then Manny just jumped in there. Sorry, go on.
Yeah,
and
no,
that's the question. So like at what point, so I guess my out loud question is, well, I hope it's an out loud question, not a thinking question, because no one could hear that. Is can they keep doing records of this style? Like, do they need to change a direction in order to keep it fresh?
I think, like you said, like it's their DNA, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're not remaking the same album like 4 times in a row, at all. But there is that DNA, and I don't know so much if you could like call it like a sound, like I don't. I feel like it's almost more of like a vibe or like a feeling to their music, because they do have tracks that, I mean, like a lot of tracks like they sound different from each other. So I don't know if it's necessarily so much a question of like this, like does this sound need to change or like keep the freight train rolling. I think it's just no. You know what? Yeah, just keep the freight train rolling. I think that's the answer. Like fuck it. Like I don't think they need to
they're not
put
going
out
to run it.
they don't need to put out like an R&B album.
I guess I'm more talking about a change in tone.
Well,
Like is it as this aggressive as this? You know what I mean? Also, like, I mean, the argument against that is, I mean, it's rare when you take two people's music or two entities' music and you're like, okay, this is what this person is super good at, this is what this person is super good at, and if we combine them on paper, it should absolutely fucking work. But it sometimes doesn't. But this is
You need the chemistry. They have the That's
Yeah.
what it is, 100%. These two dudes genuinely fucking love each other. Like they have chemistry, and it permeates in everything, in every aspect of this album.
Yeah.
And all their subsequent albums and collaborations.
Yeah, I think that chemistry is super fucking important. And because they literally, you took two things that were awesome, put them together, and they became better. So like the math on this works, on this partnership works.
I bet you there was. I bet you there's just like tons of hip hop heads that were just like, before this was a thing, they were just like fantasy league, like Killer Mike and LP, and like and like when it actually happened. And like with like the collaborations and shit, they were probably like, "Oh my god!"
Your
and then
hip
like Run
hop
the Jewels,
draft.
yeah, and then Run the Jewels comes out. They're like, "It's happening."
So, I guess we've kind of already been kind of hashing this out, but where does this rank in terms of your favorite Run the Jewels albums?
Touch on that. I'd say it's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna give it. I'm still gonna give it to 2. I love 2.
Really, that's my least favorite. That's
no,
so
man.
funny
I
that
think
it's your favorite.
That one is fucking.
Trust me, I still love it. I still love
that
it. Don't
that
get me
one.
wrong.
That one, because it's a little bit more sparse. I enjoy it. It's more like I like. I just like that there are. I think with me, I enjoy albums that are like banger after banger for sure, but I also need like different textures and stuff. That's why I think I like number 2. I think that there's a little bit more variety in it, whereas this one is just awesome. Like it's super fucking well put together. I would say though that like the differences in like this would be my second favorite Run the Jewels album. And I think that like we're talking like we're talking like a little bit fucking different. Like there's like, as I said,
moving the needle a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so for me, like, I fucking love, as I said, Close Your Eyes and Count to Fuck. I love Lie, Cheat, Steal and shit. All Due Respect, the one with Travis Barker on it, that's probably one of my favorite fucking, That's probably one of my favorite fucking features on one of their albums, and I just that's what I think that it just hits the chords what I like. Also, I'm kind of always interested in groups kind of trying to like figure it out on the fly as well. It's just interesting. So I like what they do. Like this, as I said though, it's like it's the difference for me would almost be negligible. But a year from now, I don't know if I'm going to say the same thing because of this. It was such a like I haven't really stopped playing it. It's just
Yeah,
continued
you
playing.
you need to have those like rose colored glasses off for like a little bit and give it some time to breathe.
Yeah,
with
I have.
all
Yeah, continue.
with all Run the Jewels though, it's like that, or the previous ones or 3 releases. The when I take a 6 months off and then go back, it's just as I love it just as much. Like for whatever reason, they have their staying power is good.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now let me ask you a sub question to your question, Kyle.
Sub question.
Best album cover. Which one of the iterations of the gun and fist, of the trigger and fist, do you guys like the best?
I like this one. It's a little sassy.
You know what? It's very like postmodern. I think I like this one the best too, personally.
Yeah, I like this one. Like, I mean, I fucking
with the pink background, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pink. It's a little bit more bright. It's I enjoy it. I think with the I think to Van Eyck's point, I think that the dropping it for a while, that's always the test. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think of a band I've kind of so it was written, the Nas album. I hadn't listened to that in like 2 years. And I really, really, really enjoy it. I came back to it. I fucking love it. It's like it can still be part of your life, and I think that's one of those things that sometimes music gets resigned to like your nostalgia pile. And like I fucking love Led Zeppelin. I enjoy Led Zeppelin. I'll listen to Led Zeppelin occasionally. I just like it's not that it's not good. It's just that in my life's context, it's maybe not the proper soundtrack, if you will. But still loving, but there's still like a love for it, and it's still like an understanding of it, and being obsessive about like knowing a bunch of stuff about it. But like this is more where my head's at, and like you know what I mean. But all like for example, punk bands like the Stooges, I went a while without listening to, and then all of a sudden picked them up again, and I fucking love them. And they just were absolutely fucking fantastic. And I'm like, how did this ever leave my life? And that's the test for me of, again, going to what, Van Eyck was saying about the stuff that sticks with you for a long time. For me, this is probably going to be one of those albums because it's just, I don't know. I think now I have a little bit more of a gut for it. I think one thing I was really thinking about is because Zach De La Rocha is on this record and, he was on 2. RTJ's albums are unabashedly political, looking at subjects like racism, police brutality, economic inequity, among others. How timely is the messaging on this record? And like, where do they fit in terms of this musical soundtrack for civil disobedience? Are they a replacement for Rage Against the Machine? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I listened to all the albums again, and it's like, they've been saying the same shit for 4 albums. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's like their message, you know what I mean? Like these guys are real deal. It's like fucking like Bernie. Bernie's been saying the same shit for fucking 50 years.
Yeah.
Like these guys have been saying the same shit. And it's like this newest album could have came out last week. It could have came out a year ago. Could have come out 10 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of the issues on there, they're ongoing, like, you know what I mean? The fucking, the systemic racism, the police brutality. These are all things that now are, there's more focus on them than ever, but like it's not trendy, you know what I mean? Like these guys have been saying this shit forever. So I respect these guys immensely for that, immensely. And I mean, like you said, the album was recorded before George Floyd's murder. So even before that, like, so this is, it just rings so true that like they recorded it before that like the political climate really turned, and it had never been more relevant.
Yeah, that one, the verse when he says the George Floyd "I can't breathe" thing, it's actually, I guess, Eric Gagne.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do I have his name right? We should all know his name. He said the same thing, and like how much does that?
Well, there's been
hit
it's not just him. There's been like countless people that have, like, unfortunately uttered those words. So it's a fucking, it's just a massive thing for them to be talking about. Like it's yeah.
And that was really like that hit that because we saw, my social media, that phrase has been in a lot of places, but when I heard it here and then looked up that it wasn't even about this, he didn't re-record a last thing before they sent it out, because they could have done that. They didn't put out a physical thing. Nope, that isn't the case. The fact that many people, that is a thing, that is what you say when you are dying, being choked to death. That's what a human says in English. I can't breathe. And like it just sent it home to me. And that
and the delivery of that line too was just, I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Yeah,
honestly.
no, seriously,
like,
right now.
Me too. Yeah,
I got choked up on multiple listens when it happened. I just got all, like, whew, it's heavy.
It's fucking heavy. It is.
For me, they're the most likely heirs to the Rage Against the Machine throne. I think, because I was listening to Rage Against the Machine a bunch as well, and
same, actually. I've been listening to them a lot recently too.
I was like,
always.
So I was like thinking, I'm like listening to the lyrics, and like obviously they touch on civil rights, all those kind of things, but I feel like that music was built for like the neoconservative era of the imperialist era of the United States.
Gen X.
Not that imperialism is over in the US, but now we have this like right-wing populist wave happening, and Trump's America, and that's where I think these guys come in. You know what I mean? Like this is what modern protest music sounds like. You know what I mean? This is what, if you're wondering what the sound of modern protest music is, you listen to this record. You know what I mean? And just like in the 60s, it would have been like fucking Bob Dylan. It's this today. And I was thinking, kind of not ironic. kind of fitting that, Zach De La Rocha is on these tracks, because I feel like he probably feels kinship. I know that.
They were going to tour. They were touring together as well, but that got canceled.
Yeah. And then also like LP, and like having Zach De La Rocha like moving into his house. And like them recording work together. They recorded they recorded work together, but like they never released the album, which is kind of frustrating about Zach De La Rocha, because he keeps working with these awesome producers and not releasing fucking albums. Like he did the obviously famed sessions with Trent Reznor. And like, but LP, like there's an admitting that it didn't kind of work out, but then kind of joining in with these guys, made sense for him in terms of, contributing to these songs. And I can't think of another, like, obviously there's bands and there's groups and there's people who are giving it, especially hip hop is very political, generally, even from like, even passing, even if it's not the central theme. But I think no one else has really hit the Zeke guys like these guys, where it's fucking political but also super funky as well.
And one thing that we can't forget too is that all 4 of these albums were released for free.
Yeah,
like that's another massive thing. Like, you can buy a physical copy if you want. You can buy a vinyl, whatever. But like, you can just go to the web. Like, even you don't have Spotify, whatever. You can go to the website and you can fucking download this album for free.
It's amazing.
Well, it's practice
their commitment.
Preach,
they do, and it's like, in terms of where they fall on political, like politically motivated and politically motivating groups in history, I think that they are one of the best. So their dual experiences, the way they come together, invites you in more than any other political the lyrics I've ever heard. Like it always just feels like those two perspectives. If you didn't feel the one, then you get it on the very next line from the other. And I think that's where it makes it personal, in terms of it's like more personal record for them, but it also just draws you in personally. It's the one rhyme in specific, when LP's talking about the cages, like when they never make cages for just one group, and when they're done with using it for them, they're going to use it for you and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, true.
So first of all, if any of you guys haven't heard the People's Party Talib Kweli's podcast, I would recommend it. LP was on it. He was talking about like how, like, what the difference is, because obviously they're combating racism, and as a white guy, he doesn't have the same experience with racism, like the real understanding of it that obviously a person of color would. And LP was saying that it's more of, he tackles these things from like a broader point of view. Like it's like his his observation of it, as a person who is an ally, and also like who can't fully understand it, whereas Killer Mike provides this on the ground understanding of what it is to be black in the United States. And like just the contrast between it, I find very interesting. I find it also like LP doesn't try to come across like he's on that same understanding level as Killer Mike. And I think like it's really a respectful relationship. And I think that's another thing too, is that, there's such understanding between these two guys, from a political sense and from a struggle sense, and understanding where each other has come from, and, the different things that brought them here. And I just think their ability to kind of package that into something with a message, and something that is of the zeitgeist, is just fucking, I mean, as I said, I don't know, I would be hard pressed to figure out another group that does what they do.
I was trying to think, and I don't think there is, and that's fucking real unfortunate. At least not at the level that they're at, like in like the the mainstream crossover with them.
Yes. On that note, gentlemen, I think we're gonna finish up. I want to thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Take it easy, guys.
Thanks. See ya.